When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty in the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101, and I am back with my guest for the month. This is actually our last show, Kisha Steineger, and she is with Care Patrol. If you've missed some of the shows, I'm going to have Kisha tell them real quick what you do, just so that they can get a grasp of that if they've missed them.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me again, Carrie. I really appreciate it. What Care Patrol does is we help seniors and their families when it's time to either bring in-home care into their home, or if it's time to make that move to an independent living, assisted living, memory care, or skilled nursing. So we will actually come out and meet with you, learn a little bit more about you, help you find the best fit, and then we'll take you on tours of the communities that we feel like would be a good fit for you and help you through the whole process.
And you mentioned in-home care. So, of course, I'm a real estate agent, and I need to plug a couple of houses that would be perfect for this. The first one was actually built for that purpose. Mom and Dad moved in with the kids, and so they built a home that would work for everybody. It's at 5729 Southwest 37th Terrace here in Topeka, and it is gorgeous, first off. Master suite on the first floor with its own little living room. So if they wanted a private space, it has its own glassed-in enclosed sunroom off of the master bedroom. Huge master bath and huge walk-in closet for Mom and Dad, and that was where they actually stayed. There is an elevator to the basement, so that they could enjoy time with the family. It has its own bar. The woodwork in this house is just amazing. Pool table that stays with the property, has tons of storage. I mean, the house itself is it's gorgeous, and it's very, very large. Upstairs, you have a full master suite, and I always joke that I don't take pictures of like a walk-in shower or a walk-in closet or anything like that unless it's big enough to throw a party in. And I'm serious, I take a lot of pictures of this bathroom. It's massive. I mean, they have their own coffee pot sitting there, whenever they get up in the morning. Every bedroom has a walk-in closet. Every bedroom has its own bathroom. It's just gorgeous. So if you would like to see that, it is priced at $625,000. Seriously, people, it would cost over $1 million to build this house again. And again, it is at 5729 Southwest 37th Terrace here in Topeka. The other one is really, really large. It's at 3433 Northwest Hickory Ridge Lane here in Topeka also. 5 bedrooms. There's a bathroom in every bedroom. One has a Jack and Jill, but it has its own shower for each. Just tons and tons of space. The basement has its own suite for whoever lives in the basement. So makeup room, full, think Hollywood lights kind of thing when you're doing your makeup, own bathroom, just tons and tons of space. So definitely check that out. That one's priced at $375,000. So those are some really great properties to look at if you are interested in, number one, you have a lot of kids, or if you have a special need to where an elevator would be great to have, to go downstairs and actually spend time with the family. The kitchen in this one on 37th Terrace is to die for. I mean, it is totally meant for hosting parties and, having a big family. And but it does not feel sterile at all. It's very homey. And so it's a great neighborhood. It's in a cul-de-sac. Let me know if you want to check it out, 785-213-5188. And so when we're talking about intergenerational living, do you see that very often, Kisha?
I'm seeing it a little bit more than I used to, but overall, not as much. Unfortunately, I think it is because most people just don't have that extra space, like you're talking about in those perfect house setups where it really works well. But I think it's an incredible idea if possible, especially with kids being homeschooled now, with COVID and everything. Hey, why not have grandma and grandpa help out a little bit, right?
Exactly. When it comes to having someone for in-home care, I know it's always ideal to have people stay in their home as long as possible if they have the help. Do you help with that as far as getting in-home care, or, have any suggestions for people if they're looking at that option?
Sure, and we do. We don't go into as an extensive of assistance with in-home care, but we do offer a few different options of companies that I work well with. And my background is actually in-home care, so that's always kind of a particular one that I'm fond of. Plus, my grandmother's using in-home care at home in Kansas City right now. So that's a really good one for me to help with. I always recommend going with a company. Don't just hire somebody that you found on, Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or something like that. And there's a number of reasons for that. Yes, it is less expensive, but you don't know who you're getting. You're not doing background checks on these folks. You're not doing drug screens. Your insurance is probably not going to cover that individual if something happens to them, or if they, God forbid, steal from you or something like that. So just based on those small factors alone, you should definitely call a company. Some of the other factors, too, to think about, having someone that's what you would call a live-in caregiver, where they live in a room in your house. You think of that with nannies and things like that. That used to be a little bit more prevalent than it is today. And one of the bigger reasons for that is because if you think about it, no one works 24 hours a day. It's just not fair. Someone will get burned out. And then it's, by no one's fault of their own, it's easy to take advantage of somebody, whether it's the senior taking advantage of the caregiver, living there and thinking they should constantly be available, or vice versa. It's just not a very good situation to be in. So definitely go with a company. Go with a company that's going to use as few caregivers as possible. The way to have a successful in-home care experience is to not have a revolving door of people coming in and out of your house. One of the biggest complaints that I would get with the company that I worked for before was that other companies would just send in a warm body. And these people, most of them, were on pretty consistent schedules. You need someone there every day or a few times a week. Because obviously if it's, getting in and out of bed, that doesn't magically go away on a Sunday because your caregiver wants the day off. If it's something like running errands or what have you, that's a little bit different. But you don't want to feel like you're training a new caregiver every single time they're coming into your home. So if you have the same consistent couple of people that really get to know you and your family, that's the best route to go. And also understanding that you can never have the exact same caregiver again and again. People have real lives that they live, or they get sick, or they go on vacation. So having at least one backup person is a really, really good idea. And most of the time, the company will do that. The other good thing, if it's somebody, let's say they're on 24-hour care and there's a snowstorm or someone gets sick, you don't have to find a replacement that day. Whereas if it was, a neighbor down the street, then you're just kind of out of luck, or if, your family lives out of town, they never really know if someone was actually there. So a good company will try and schedule the same couple of people. They'll provide you with what their backup plan is in case someone gets sick or something happens. They should have that. They should always have a care plan book that they have talked with you through. What's in that book is emergency contacts. If there's any advance directives that need to be there or the location of those in the house, that should be there. And then what the daily plan is. Let's say Mom gets up at 10 o'clock in the morning and always wants eggs for breakfast. All of those things should be outlined in that plan of care. And then at the end of every shift, there should be notes from the caregiver about how that shift went that day. That should be in the home at all times for your family to review, and then following caregivers to come and see in case they need to leave a note for one another. Something happened, I didn't get the laundry done today, could the following caregiver do that? Things like that. So it's a good communication for them. The other thing to keep in mind is that caregivers should never accept any type of gift. And that can be really, really difficult for seniors to understand. You have developed this great relationship with someone and you want to give them a Christmas gift, a bonus or something like that. Please don't be insulted if the caregiver says that they can't accept that. It's against the rules for most companies and any good ones. And the biggest reason for that is, when you have clients that have dementia or something, they don't always know what they're doing. They could be trying to give you a $2 bill and it's a 20, or, they go and accidentally give away great-grandma's wedding ring, something like that. So it's just a safeguard for the family and for the caregivers as well. But I always recommend, interview 2 to 3 companies. Make sure that those are a few of the things that they can provide and that they can do. If they're not willing to do that, they are not the right company for you. Also keep in mind that it is your home. And so if it's a caregiver that you don't feel comfortable with for whatever reason, tell the company and they will substitute out that person for another individual. And don't be shy about those kinds of things. If your family is, very much, they would really prefer a female caregiver over a male, make sure to tell the company that. I mean, they understand that happens every day. You're not in a nursing home, so you do get to say, what your preferences are for things like that. And, if it makes your experience better, then that's great. And I've had it go both ways. I've had some people that, really preferred a female and some that said, actually, Dad wants to go and play, basketball at the Y because he's a little bit younger. He just can't drive and he's got some dementia, so we'd prefer a male. And, we can get some really good relationships developed that way.
And another thing to think about, if you're worried at all, there are several alarm systems. There are actually things that you can buy at Best Buy even, or Sam's, for home surveillance, just to see, to just have peace of mind that Mom and Dad are being taken care of in the way that you would want them to be. I know that a lot of times people don't think about that, but you find it really often whenever you're doing in-home care for a child. So I don't know why people don't tend to think about it for Mom and Dad, because unfortunately, not everybody is what they say they are. And you want to know that Mom and Dad are being taken care of in a way that you would want them to be. So that is something that you can do.
Sure, and that's a really good point. And the other thing to keep in mind, too, is that, these caregivers are there for Mom and Dad or your spouse, but they're really there for the whole family, too. So it's okay to ask them to, start a casserole for dinner if you're still working and you're not going to be home until late, or to throw a load of laundry in. They're not just there to do Mom and Dad's laundry. Or, well, we can only vacuum Mom's room because that's who we're taking care of. That's not how it works. They're there to really just relieve the entire family of the stress and give you a little bit of your family time back.
Which is really, I'm sure, a load off whenever you're coming home, and now you've got the evening duty, and, that would be great to know that that's okay to ask for.
Exactly. Exactly. And sometimes they can be better cooks than you can. I mean, I know most of them are better cooks than I am. So,
well, everybody that listens to the show knows that they've got to be better than I am. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to talk more with Kisha Steineger. So, be sure and join us here in just a few.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocca's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocca's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. I am back with my co-host for the month. Her name is Kisha Steineger with Care Patrol. Thanks for joining me again, Kisha.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
And so before the break, we were talking about in-home care. Obviously, when it comes to real estate, we see this a lot. And more of what we see is when in-home care it has become too much. And now they're looking at, okay, mom and dad need to sell the house, or we need to sell the house, and we want to go into assisted living, or we want to go into independent living, or, you know, they have Alzheimer's and they need to go into a more advanced care facility. So that is what Kisha does, in addition to what we talked about prior. Real quick, just assume that they haven't heard any of the shows and describe how you help with those things.
Sure. So what I'll do is come over and meet you and your family so I can learn a little bit more about you, about what, you did for a living, what kinds of things you like to do, what kind of prompted this move, whether, it was a health issue or let's say the stairs have just become too much and you need, to go to single level living, or if it's, someone who's got Alzheimer's and they're starting to wander. And that'll help me determine what level of care would be most appropriate. Also, whether it's just one individual moving or whether it's a couple, that can help kind of determine whether we need to do an independent living with some additional care services that would be a good fit, or maybe they're both ready for assisted living. Both of those options happen quite frequently. So once we kind of narrow down the type of care that we need, and then our geographic location, we are nationwide. So let's say that you're currently living in Topeka, but you want to move closer to your kids that are in, California or Utah, something like that. I can still meet with you. I can get all that information and then pass it on to a counterpart in the geographic location you're looking for. Once we do that, we'll kind of narrow it down to a couple of the different properties, and I'll get you all the information about those properties. That includes pictures, amenities, why I think that they would fit your needs, and I'll talk to you about it, what ones are available right now, if you're looking for right now versus in the future, so you don't have to be the person making all of those phone calls just to find out they don't have any apartments for you. And then we'll narrow it down again, which ones you want to go and take a tour of. I'll actually take you on those tours with the community. I'm a little bit of a silent participant there, but I'll have gone over a few things beforehand, what to look for, and kind of be your safeguard against the sales and marketing people at the community so you don't feel too pressured. They don't start calling you. They call me instead, unless it's okay with you to talk to you after a tour. And then let's say you pick a place and it's time to move in. Any additional help that you need for referrals, I can help with that. It's not anything I do, but, if it's time to sell your house, I can refer Carrie. If it's, downsizing, I have some people that do that, moving companies, kind of anything that's within the realm of senior care, I can refer out to those services as well.
And if you are in that period of time and you're thinking about it, we also help get pricing so that you know what to expect as far as what you would make off of the house, and what repairs need to be done so that you get the best amount of money possible, and what you really shouldn't do because you may not get enough money from it. And then, same thing as far as setting up any kind of estate sales, we would give you a list of people to go to. So definitely here is a resource. I meet with people up to 2 years prior to even making that leap. They're just starting to think about it. There is no charge. I come out, we talk about it, we go through the numbers. Obviously the numbers can change over the years, but you get a pretty good ballpark. Also, if your family is in a way that you would like to, say mom's the one that's sick and she's going to go into care first, but we need to make sure dad has enough left when it comes his time to have to move into assisted living. We've got some really good attorneys that can help with that. They do free consultation and make sure that dad is going to have enough money to be taken care of when it comes time. So wealth of knowledge there, happy to help anytime. So don't feel overwhelmed. Definitely just ask. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. And we're passionate about it. That's the reason why we do it. So, but when it comes to, making that leap and you're ready to go, let's say you move into one and you don't like it. What happens next?
Sure. The unfortunate part there is that a lot of the calls that I get are from that exact same scenario that you're describing. So the best thing to do is to call me, of course, and tell me kind of what's going on, why it's not the right answer for you, so we can work on finding what is a good answer. One of the things that kind of typically will happen is that you'll move into a place thinking, this is the last move I'm ever going to have to make. They told me I can age in place here, and then you have a significant health setback, and they're no longer able to care for you. The biggest ones here are people with diabetes that can no longer manage their own insulin. That's a pretty big deal. And someone who would become a two-person transfer, where it takes more than one caregiver to help you out of bed or out of a chair. Those are pretty big causes for move. Another one would be finances. If you weren't able to plan in advance enough and you ran out of finances and needed care and we need to move to a facility that accepts Medicaid. Those are kind of the biggest reasons for a move. Other times it's just, management has changed over and you're no longer happy with the service that they're providing. That happens too. So some of the biggest questions to ask, if you are going into a community that we would call a continuing care community, CCRC, what that means is that they have all the levels of care on the same campus. So you have independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. Sometimes they have memory care, sometimes they don't, all on the same campus. What you need to remember with that is that when they tell you you don't have to move again, that doesn't mean that you won't have to move physically to a different place on the campus. It just means that you can stay on that same campus for the remainder of your life. So some of the questions to ask, how many independent living apartments they have. So we'll just assume you started out in independent living and then now you need assisted living. What is the ratio of independent living apartments to assisted living apartments? Because the biggest problem that you have is that, of course, all of the people on campus do have priority to move to assisted living before people from the outside can. But if you have, let's say, 500 independent living apartments and you only have 50 assisted living apartments, the numbers don't really work out very well. So then what happens during that time period where you need to move and there's not somewhere available? Sometimes that results in a move to a different community. Other times you have to bring in-home care at your expense until an option opens up. So those are kind of the big reasons for a move. It's typically a health setback, or with dementia, if someone becomes what we would call an elopement risk. So, let's say they're doing pretty well, at home or in an assisted living, but it's not a locked community where you have to have a code to go in and out of the door, and somebody just wanders out. You don't want to be wandering on the middle of Gage Boulevard in Topeka. So that can happen sometimes as well. And typically at that point, the community is the one calling me saying, okay, this person has exceeded the care that we can provide. We need to find a different option for them. So those are a few scenarios that happens, and we just find the next option. And the other question to always ask yourself is, do you think that this is going to result in another move, and is that okay with you? It's kind of prioritizing beforehand, and that can be financial, situation or just, a care situation, that standpoint too.
And I would say, just in case you haven't heard the prior show, Atria, just as an example, independent living, those guys have events literally like every day of the year. And so they have groups that play cards together. They have luau's and cook-offs. And so don't necessarily look at, gosh, I need to look at mom and dad or myself moving into some place and, going from being home alone to all of a sudden having this whole group of friends. It's not always a bad thing. I've had clients that were, the significant other had passed and they were home most of the time by themselves. And, we're kids. We have a lot going on. We still have, young kids and playing ball and all this kind of stuff. And you just can't be there as much as you would like to be. And so mom and dad get lonely. Or basically they just need some interaction. And having independent care they live in what is very similar to apartments. Basically, they are apartments. They're just all inside of one open building that you have elevators and everything. So there's not outside access, I guess is what I'm getting at there. So anyway, they party like teenagers. Just cracks me up.
Oh, yeah, and especially with COVID, it's been very interesting to me. I just moved a client into an independent living over at Lexington Park, and she had been doing, pretty well at home, but right around the time COVID started was about the time that she gave up driving. And so, over 6 months, 7 months, she got really lonely, and depressed because she talked to her friends, but she really couldn't go and see anyone. They used to go out to lunch. Well, there was nowhere to go out to lunch. And so she really was looking for something, in a more social environment, and moved her in, and she is so happy and ecstatic and thriving. She's going to every single activity that they have, from, morning exercises to the religious services. They had happy hour last Friday that she went to, and she's just thrilled and absolutely loves it. And there were things that she just wasn't really doing at home.
We are already out of time. Can you believe that? I really have appreciate you being on the show. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they need your services.
Well, Carrie, the best way to reach me is either directly by phone, which is 785-766-9005, or you can email me at ksteineger@carepatrol.com. And our services are free, so thank you so much for letting me come on the show.
And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give me a call at 785-213-5188. We would love to help you move on to your next destination. Thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.